Good morning, 3rd and 4th grade. Today I want to talk to you about a few things that you are going to be working on in English over the next few days. Adjectives and adverbs. Now, adjectives and adverbs are very similar, but there are some distinct differences that I want to talk to you about today. Both adjectives and adverbs describe things, but they describe two totally different things. Adjectives describe nouns, while adverbs describe verbs. Now, both adjectives and adverbs answer questions about the noun or the verb that they describe. But once again, those questions are completely different. Adjectives answer the questions, what kind, how many, which one, and whose. While adverbs answer the question, where, when, how often, and to what extent. I have some examples for you today that will hopefully make it a little bit more clear what adjectives and adverbs describe and which questions go with adjectives and adverbs. So today, I have red crayon. Red is an adjective describing the noun crayon. Red is answering the question, what kind about the crayon? What kind of crayon? A red crayon. 4 pencils. 4 is an adjective describing pencils, and it is answering the question, how many pencils? How many pencils? 4 pencils. Second recess. Second is an adjective describing the noun recess, and it is answering the question, which one? Which recess? Second recess. And my friend. My is an adjective describing the noun friend, and it's answering the question, whose? Whose friend? My friend. Now for adverbs, they describe verbs, and they answer the questions, again, where, when, how often, and to what extent. So my examples are up here on the board because I also want to give you an example of what you're doing in English yesterday and today. For English yesterday and today, you were to underline the verb twice, and then you needed to circle the adverb and write in the blank what question the adverb is answering. So we have the sentence here, I went inside. What's the verb here in this sentence? I went inside. That's right, it's the word went. We're going to underline went twice. Now we need to figure out what word in this sentence is the adverb describing went. So we can think through our questions. Is there a word that says where I went, when I went, how I went, how often I went, or to what extent I went? In this sentence, the word inside is answering the question about went with where. It's saying where I went. In the next sentence, Aunt Ellen came yesterday. Once again, I have to find my verb twice and underline it. And the verb in this sentence is came. Aunt Ellen came yesterday. The adverb in this sentence is answering the question either where, when, how often, or to what extent. And as I look at this sentence, I see this word yesterday. And that word yesterday is answering the question when Aunt Ellen came. When did Aunt Ellen come? She came yesterday. For the third sentence, Jim did his work sloppily. The verb here is did. Jim did his work sloppily. I underlined did twice. Now I need to find an adverb that describes did. So I ask my questions again. Where Jim did his work? When Jim did his work? How Jim did his work? How often Jim did his work? Or to what extent Jim did his work? And as I look at this sentence, I can see that sloppily answers the question, how Jim did his work. He did his work sloppily. Fourth sentence, Bob is always prompt. The verb here, Bob is prompt. Now, what word describes is prompt? Ask our questions, where, when, how often, to what extent. Always answers the question, how often. For the final sentence, This is almost finished. Our verb, once again underlining it twice, is finished. And the word that's describing is finished almost. And it's answering the question for us, to what extent? To what extent is this finished? It's almost finished. One final thing to note about adverbs as you work with them, they don't always, but sometimes they do end with the ly. In this list, only sloppily ends with the ly. As you work through your paper today, though, you might find quite a few of your adverbs end with ly. Look for words that come after the verb at the end of the sentence if it's a very short sentence. Look for words that separate your verb phrase. Is prompt, always is separating that. Is finished, almost is separating that. So look carefully at the different words to see if you can find where the adverbs are in the sentence.